In thinking about addiction or escapism, I feel like a lot of it, and I'll share about this, that I would have to, summarize is there's a lot of things that we didn't know and that we would be able to, there's a lot of not knowing. And, you know, everything that we didn't know that we could get through it, that maybe we didn't know that we'd change or that others would change, or that we were focusing on faults, missing how lucky we were. We didn't know that the suffering was temporary, and we could handle criticism and risk rejection. And we didn't know that we could purify our intentions, release shame, and express the core self and have integrity, values, and living in the values. We didn't know that we had double standards, but that we could be honest. We didn't even know we were lying, and we didn't know we could be vulnerable. We didn't know that God is with us when we're alone, or that we could listen and hear what we need to hear, and that we could admit mistakes. And often that what we see and hear is just a page in the chapters of the life journey, whether it's mine or others. We didn't know that we could really love someone, that someone would really be able to love us, and that the suffering is temporary, and that I said that the suffering was temporary, and that there's wisdom in living in me that I don't need to look outside for, that I could hear no, and it's okay to not be as beautiful and young on the outside as I feel I used to be. And 12-step meetings really help with this kind of thing, because we start to learn what's in the space when we don't act compulsively, when we don't do the thing that our nervous system tells us, when we have that mind-body connection. So, able to see some of the patterns dysfunctional from my childhood. For example, that there was always this sense like everything was my fault, even when I was helping people and making their lives better. When anything would go wrong, I would feel like, it was all my fault. And when I felt abandoned, I would tell myself, maybe just confirmations of how alone I was, how unwanted I was, that I was like, there's something wrong with me. But then I realized I could actually tell myself, I have myself now. Shayna has you now. I have you now. I won't discard myself. And, I have a higher power, God, Hashem, who won't, leave me either. I could tell myself, basically, it's humbling to recognize the double standards and to start honoring the version of me that had died, so that this new version of me that can live, and sometimes we have to disengage when it feels disrespectful or there's lashing out, scapegoating, and then come back later if it's a loved one who's the difficult person, ask what they need from me, and not rubbing it in their face or forcing an apology, like what was done, just letting go of these patterns, reminding myself that the people in my life are lucky to know me, and I'm lucky to know the people in my life. And I could also recognize that I'm not being discarded the moment I'm not useful. It's just that a lot of people are in the getting stuff done business mode. And I can also tell someone my standard is to be able to communicate when they need space or when I'm hurt, basically to be vulnerable, instead of making the other person feel anxiety, to actually express, that there's anxiety that's being felt. And I wanted to share feeling worthy of my own undivided attention. A lot of the healing is also that, maybe is about self-worth, I believe. So feeling my own undivided attention, accommodation, my own soothing. Shayna deserves comfort, consideration, thoughtfulness. Shayna deserves that undivided attention, accommodation, and soothing. Shayna deserves effort, devotion. I'm talking about myself in third person, which is a great technique. Shayna, I deserve effort, devotion, curiosity, allowance, benefit of the doubt, praise, and care. Shayna, I deserves validation, affirmation, inspiration, understanding. Shayna, I deserves amusement, time and energy, recognition, reassurance, kindness, belonging, and chosenness. And I went to a 12-step meeting to think about how, the idea of trusting the other, this idea of submission by choice is actually devotion. And that's when it's love instead of power. Submission is about power, but submission by choice is about love. And, let's say there was a man who said, we have to pause for a little. We have to wait a little. And, I was maybe looking for him to be a little bit of a free therapist and or I've always been that, or, you know, instead of like the responsible, vulnerable, trustworthy, like kind of elements to the partnership, it was like, no, I felt like, you know, on the one hand, I like the distance because I have a lot of insecurities and closeness feels risky, you know. I had a lot of insecurities and closeness felt risky that maybe I would end up being undesirable, unattractive, unwanted as a woman. But there was also the sense of like you know, do I want, um, like, to trust the wisdom of the other and to be responsible. And, you know, I also look back, there was a lot of historically you know, relationships where there was this horse and rider with control. So like, you know, who had control was the rider and the other one had to be like the horse. And like, it was sort of like me wanting to now learn what it's like to be the horse and like give control to somebody who I trust. And also to release internalized sexism, objectified femininity versus experienced. And the idea of there being love bombing and devaluation versus the slow burn, which is slowly increasing and sustainable. And a man could teach me that because maybe like I might be like, you know, too excited with emotions. And on the other hand, like the opposite of too much emotions is like a cloudiness, a numbness, you know, that intensity, the drama. And, you know, then there's the numbness. And then there's sometimes the fear that maybe someone's like hiding something. Like maybe I'll find out, you know, that I was betrayed in the past, that there was someone who was like hiding another woman, and turned out that I got like discarded because she was dating him for like 7 months long distance while I met him. And I don't know why I waited 7 months, right? It was my fault. So like just learning from the experiences, trusting that I'm not going to go through it again. And I went to this workshop with Taylor Damiani, and she asked us some very important questions. She says, when I self-abandon, it sounds like. So I thought to myself, you know, not doing my exercise because I didn't feel worthy of effort, or being on someone else's schedule and over checking my phone to see if someone responded when I'm waiting for an answer, not taking the space when I need it, feeling anxious when someone seems to forget about me because they're overwhelmed or limited, you know, withholding self-love when I fail to meet someone else's expectations. And self-trust looks for me like not labeling myself as needy, demanding, or clingy when I want closure or clarity, checking in with my intuition, following my intuition, trusting my creator has a good universe destiny for me and I don't need to worry, remembering what's mine will find me, and loosening my grip, moving, breathing, even when I feel stuck, feeling lucky and blessed because I arrive into the present moment. And she asked when I feel I'm not in self-trust. So she said, feel into your body, really. Like, so I did, and I felt there was a constriction in the tonsils in the back of the throat. Also a forward thrust from the back of the neck where the head and spine meet in the esophagus voice box. And I thought that was really interesting, like trust, you know, in terms of like trusting the voice. She asked, what am I protecting myself from by self-abandoning, not being in self-trust? So I was like, what am I? And it was that I could have a heart attack, God forbid, a panic attack, a nervous breakdown, an accident in public, a collapse, homelessness, kidnapping, being alone forever, haunted by regret for walking away, going to jail or a mental institution, God forbid, to all of that. And how long have I been doing this? So in some ways it was like 10 years ago, and in some ways since I've been born. And the 10 years ago was the first man that I was with. And what do I need to feel safe? So turning inward, I will always have me, speaking safely to myself. What can I tell the part of me that was trying so hard to protect me with self-abandonment and not self-trust? Like, what do these parts want me to know? That I inherited from my parents, that the outside world is not safe and people cannot be trusted. And I had to represent the unsafe, distrusted one for them, their exiled, integrated parts, in trying to be perfect. And the parts needed to be locked in the bathroom, outside the house, or in the bedroom with the light bulb taken out. Yes, this happened. I know now I won't die and nothing bad will happen if that inner child expresses herself and learns to speak, and pausing to learn deeper that don't need to scream, argue to be let back in without convincing, persuading, but rather I can go to that part of myself to hear what she wants to say with benefit of the doubt and curiosity, and granting allowance and innocence. And you can look up Taylor Damiani. She runs like a retreat. She has online, what do you call them? Seminars, like master classes. No, summits. And I guess, and like, I think I skipped, I put two together. Like, what did the parts want me to know? So what could I tell the part that was trying so hard to protect me with self-abandonment and not self-trust? That you don't have to worry about everyone else. You're able to focus on yourself. You could breathe a sigh of relief. You don't have to carry it all on your narrow shoulders. You could take your time. You will be able to adapt to everything. I'll stay. You are resilient. And I think we'll stop here with that today, and look forward to learning more tomorrow. All the best. Have a great week. May we have motivation and health, and never feel like someone is missing or something is missing or lonely. May we have our companion, feeling like our companion's present with us, and health, and maybe I said this, enough money for everything, and to feel like there's good weather, like to feel that the weather's good, that it feels good, and safe travels and amusement, really, and mind-body coherence connection. Amen. Can you hear it soon?